The movie starts off with ominous music and a glimpse of what seems to be a cramped up, dusty space. The walls get torn open by a couple of people. They use hammers to tear down the wall of the place and plan to make something out of it. The next scene is Sam and Carl, friends and co-workers who enter their place of work. In the elevator, a lot of people get cramped up in a small space and the two friends play a little prank by talking about the contagious sickness and rash around the private area that Carl has. They cheekily laugh about it while getting out. Molly, Sam's girlfriend and his and Carl's friend, is at her place of work when Sam comes in and offers her a hand. He has also invited Carl to help them. Turns out, it's not Molly's place of work. She is renovating her and Sam's house with various statues that she crafted herself. At night, Molly and Sam lay in their bed together. Sam seems to have a lot on his mind, and he confesses that he is afraid that something bad is going to happen. Molly sits alone in her office, making pottery while some music plays. She's there because she couldn't sleep. Sam comes to sit behind her and watches her make the pottery with wet clay. He ruins the shape of it and they giggle. Then he offers to help her. Their fingers intertwine as she playfully teaches him the craft. He seems to have other motives as he runs his fingers along her arms and they kiss, full of lust, and make love. The next morning, Sam tells Carl about a secret that he figured out, about some accounts having too many funds. When Carl offers to help, Sam says he should do it instead because it's like a vendetta. When Carl asks what him and Molly are doing tonight, Sam tells him they're going to see Macbeth. On the way back after the play, Molly tells Sam that she really wants to marry him and they should just go for it. Molly asks him why he never says he loves her. Instead, he always says ditto, but Sam tries to tell her that even if people say it all the time, it hardly means anything. Just then, a shady man comes up behind them and points his gun at Sam, asking for his wallet. The man slaps Molly in the face, causing Sam to fight the armed man. Molly screams from behind to stop, but seeing his girlfriend hurt infuriates Sam to the point where he has to fight. There is a sound of a gunshot and the thief runs away. Sam runs after him, but after losing him, he goes back to Molly to see her crying over his lifeless body. He cannot believe his eyes as he watches Molly hold his own bloody and lifeless corpse, sprawled on the ground. Molly hysterically calls someone to help while holding her husband's dead body. Sam's spirit seems to be in turmoil. He seems to be hallucinating, seeing Molly in bed, and then seeing a white light over him. But he soon regains consciousness and watches his wife take his body to the hospital where the police and detectives approach her gently for questioning. An old man comes up to Sam and tells him to get used to this new feeling. They both sit down and watch as another man loses his life at the hospital. A nurse walks right through Sam. He shrieks thinking he will bump into him, but he does not. Later, he goes to his own funeral, seeing Molly and his friend Carl cry. The ghost of an unknown woman beckons him closer, but he ignores it. Later on, while sadly doing pottery, Molly talks about Sam and how she can still feel him. She is too much in pain and cannot get over her lover's death. Sam tries talking to her, but the cat shrieks at him. Animals have this ability to feel spirits, and Sam can tell his and Molly's cat can see him. The cat runs away after a while, causing Molly to call it crazy. The next day, Carl and Molly sort through Sam's things, and Carl advises Molly to go out sometime. She, in her distress, slaps him and then apologizes. He accepts it and they walk outside. Sam tries to follow them by walking through a door for the first time, but his nerves get the better of him. Just then, the same man who killed Sam enters Molly's house using a key. It is a mystery how he had it in the first place. Just then, as he is roaming the house, Molly walks back in. Sam tries to warn her, but H is unable to. So he does what he thinks is best. He scares the cat into scratching the thief's face, who runs out quickly. Sam musters up the courage and runs through the door, after the thief. He follows him into the subway but gets attacked by a scary-looking man. The weird man throws Sam around, screaming at him to get out of the subway because it is apparently his. After the train stops, the thief and him both exit and Sam follows him into a rundown old building, noticing that his name is Willie Lopez. Willie sits on his bed and calls someone, notifying the person on the phone that he wasn't able to get it. Sam tries asking him what he wants from their house, but of course Willie cannot hear him. Sam leaves the building and walks around, coming across a board that reads Spiritual Advisor. He walks inside and into a room. There, an old woman, Mrs. Santiago, sits, wanting to talk to her dead husband. The spiritual advisor, a black woman in shiny yellow clothing who introduces herself as Otami. Otami tricks the Mrs. Santiago into believing that she really has power to talk to dead spirits. Sam, who is witnessing all this, scoffs and calls Otami a ripoff. Surprisingly, his comments make Otami's head turn, who thinks it is her assistant making the snide remarks. Otami gets freaked out by the voice she can hear and runs around in her room, hiding in her closet, but she hits her head and faints. Back in her apartment, Otami's assistants tend to her while thinking peculiarly of the distressed woman, who is now talking easily to Sam. Sam asks her to help Molly by warning her of the man who broke into their house. Reluctantly, Oda calls Molly, but after hearing that Sam has a message for her, She hangs up the phone. Sam tells Oda to go to Molly's house, but she refuses. While she is trying to sleep, Sam keeps pestering her by singing loudly. Finally, have had enough, she agrees to go to Molly's. The next day, Oda and Sam arrive at their building and ring the intercom, but Molly still doesn't answer, probably thinking it's a scam. Finally, Oda stands downstairs on the road and screams secrets only Sam and Molly would know, like the green underwear that Molly wrote her name on. Molly finally opens the door for Odami and invites her in. They sit at a restaurant, but Molly still has a hard time believing Oda. And she is so distressed after Sam's death that she doesn't want to be fooled again. As Molly is leaving, Sam hurriedly tells Oda to say ditto. Hearing the work he always used to say to her, Molly stops in her tracks. She takes Oda to her apartment. There, Odami and Sam have a little argument, which Molly finds really weird because all she can see and hear is Oda arguing with herself. After calming down, she relays Sam's message to Molly, which is basically that he was murdered and he knows his killer. After hearing these details, Odami gets a little freaked out about everything and rushes out. Later that evening, Molly calls Carl and meets up with him, but he calls everything fake. He tells Molly she is out of her mind. Carl seems to be really against the idea of her taking any sort of action for the sake of Sam. Carl offers to check it out himself and kisses Molly's cheek, asking her to get some rest. At night, Carl, followed by Sam, heads to Willie Lopez's house. Sam is disturbed by the fact that Willie already knows Carl. He listens to their conversation with wide eyes, realizing that it was his best friend Carl who got him killed. It is revealed that Carl's intention was only to steal Sam's wallet. He apparently got greedy and wanted Sam's money for himself. Carl tells Willie to take care of the psychic woman and leaves the building. Sam tries punching Carl, screaming that he had a life too, but Carl doesn't hear him and drives off. The next morning, Molly is at the police station telling the police everything, but they do not seem to believe her. One of them agrees to check out Willie Lopez's record. The policeman finds nothing on Willie, but he does find a lot of record on Odami, including forgery and theft. Molly tears up at the station, denying Odami to be a liar, but the police officer consoles her, telling her that dealing with the death of a loved one is indeed hard. Molly thanks him and leaves. Back at his office, Carl Brunner tries several passcodes to Sam's dealing and finally gets it right. He calls someone who asks him to transfer the funds to an account by the name of Rita Miller. Sam watches his friend commit fraud with disappointment. At her house, Molly lays alone while Sam walks in the apartment, wishing that Molly could hear him because he really needs her right now. At that moment, there is someone at her door. It's Carl. He apologizes for not believing her and assures her that he is still here as her friend. He brings her Japanese pears as a peace offering and asks if he can have a cup of coffee at her place. She gladly lets him in. Molly and Carl talk and he opens up about being tense, while Sam listens, calling him a snake. On purpose, Carl spills coffee onto his shirt and takes it off. Sam watches disgustingly at what his old friend is trying to do. Carl talks a bit with Molly before coming close to her, sitting right beside her and touches her inappropriately. Molly pushes him away while Sam does everything he can to stop what he is witnessing. She tells Carl it's too soon and asks him to leave, to which he obliges but asks her for dinner. The next scene is Sam running across the subway and through to another to find the weird man who beat him up before. The man can somehow move things, and Sam asks him to teach him how to do it. The man takes Sam to an empty subway station and gives him a reality check. That Sam is dead and will not be able to move things with his hands, but he can with his eyes, through his brain. Sam attempts it but fails, causing the man to laugh. Agitated, Sam tries again and this time, he gets it right. The sad-looking man congratulates him and then has him practice more. Sam asks the man how he died, and he tells him he was pushed. Sam questions him further but the man grows hysterical, breaking a cigarette machine and then running into a moving subway train, screaming at Sam to leave him alone. The whole way back, Sam practices moving objects with his mind. He goes to meet Odami to find several people at her shop. Turns out, after Sam talked to her, she can now somehow talk to ghosts. They can even take over her body. A black man named Orlando takes over her body and speaks to his wife. Odami forces him out of her body and angrily tells everyone to get out. After everyone is out, a man comes and sits across from her. It's Willie. He has come to kill her. Odami flips over her table and runs into her closet, while Willie shoots at the door. She hides in a corner. Willie leaves, and Sam tells her to do something for him. If she does it, she'll be left alone. She agrees and he asks her if she has a good dress. The next day, a dressed-up Odami goes to the bank with the ghost of Sam and sneaks under the name of Rita Miller. The receptionist asks her to sign a card and Oda accidentally signs the wrong name. She asks for another card, to which the receptionist finds weird, but nevertheless she does her job. Next, they go to see a man named Lyle Ferguson. Oda once again sneaks with the name of Rita Miller. The whole time, Sam advises her on what to say and what to do. They seem to make a good team. Sam fills Odami in on what type of guy Ferguson is, He calls the man stupid. The police officer comes back to where they are standing and further questions Oda. Sam has already told her the answer she should give him. Oda elaborates to the security guard that she spent Christmas with Ferguson and his lovely wife. She seems to be chatty though. She over-elaborates by talking of presents and tree ornaments. Sam, using his new powers, pokes Oda on her weights. She jumps a bit, something the security guard finds weird, but she covers it up, saying she gets a little gassy sometimes. Sam assures Oda that talking to Ferguson would be a piece of cake, because apparently he was so drunk at the party where he met Rita Miller, he would have talked to Tina Turner and not remembered it. Ferguson gets up from his seat and smiles at Oda, beckoning her over. He greets her and pretends to know her. Sam, from the back, tells Oda to ask how Bobby and Snooki are doing, to which Ferguson's eyes light up and he answers that they are fine, thanking her for asking. Next, Oda asks how he did on the Gibraltar's securities and the man replies with a smile, telling her they topped out on that. Ferguson asks what brings Rita Miller here today, and Oda tells him she is closing an account today. He asks for her account number, and Oda repeats the numbers after Sam. Ferguson's eyes widen as he reads the total balance in Rita Miller's account, which is a whooping $4 million. He looks back at the face of the woman with surprise, and then tells her she will be withdrawing $4 million today. Hearing how much money it is, Oda temporarily drops the act of Rita and screams the amount available in the bank. From her back, Sam tries calming her down, to no avail. He prompts her to say yes so that it doesn't seem suspicious to Ferguson. She says yes again and again in a squeaky voice. Ferguson then asks how she would want the money. Oda first tells him she would like it in 10s and 20s, which confuses him, but Sam tells her to ask for the money via cashier's check. Of course, while closing a bank account and withdrawing that much money, every bank asks to confirm identity, and Ferguson asks for hers. Oda rummages through her bag for her fake ID, spilling the contents of her purse onto the banker's table. He annoyingly stares at her, putting on a fake smile. She finally gives it and he goes to check it out, leaving her and Sam to wait. He comes back with a few documents that Oda needs to sign in order to officially close her accounts. She carefully signs the name as Rita Miller this time, learning from her past mistakes. Just then, Molly walks into the bank, surprising Sam, who tells Oda he'll be right back. With much uncertainty, Ferguson hands the cashier's check to Oda, who receives it with open hands and a wide, gaping mouth. For her, $4 million is more than she and her ancestors have ever made, and to have that much in her hands is surely a big deal. Sam throws down a box of envelopes to divert Molly's attention so that she doesn't see Oda at the bank. If she were to see the eccentric woman, surely Molly would frame her for the crime she is committing. Oda chats animatedly with Ferguson, making up a history of her family and how they acquired that much money, when Sam tells her to say goodbye because they have to rush out. When she takes too long, Sam pushes her seat up, causing Oda to rise up with a jerk. The ruckus causes Molly to look up from picking up envelopes and she sees Oda. Right as she is about to approach the woman, Oda closes the elevator door. Molly rushes back to Lyle Ferguson, introducing herself as Molly Jensen, and asks who the woman who just left was, asking if it was Oda Brown. He denies that and says her name was Rita Miller. At this information, Molly's eyes widen and she thanks Ferguson before running out. Back at his job, Carl enters the PIN code for Rita Miller's account, but the system shows her account is closed. This makes Carl exasperated. He bangs his hands on the keyboard and has an extremely distressed look on his face. He tries it again on another computer to no avail. He asks if someone messed up with the computers, but when a colleague comes to help him, he refuses the help, claiming that he will take care of it himself. Of course, he cannot take anyone else's help. He already knows he was committing fraud. While walking outside the bank, Oda excitedly talks about everything she is going to do with the $4 million. Sam advises her to take out the check first. She hurriedly does so, and hides the check where no one will find it, under her clothes. But Sam has other ideas. He tells Oda to endorse the check. He tells her he was killed for this check and it should at least be spent for a good cause. He points towards a group of nuns asking for charity. Seeing them, Oda blatantly refuses to just hand over $4 million to a group of nuns. In her defense, I don't think anyone would want to give all of that money to charity and have nothing for themselves. Sam tells her that her life will be in danger if she keeps the check around herself. The only way to protect herself is if she gives the money away immediately to a place that cannot be tracked. Oda reluctantly walks up to the nuns, blabbering and fussing all the way. Before handing over the check, she grumbles about feeling it for one last time. The nuns watch the fiasco with confused smiles. Oda cries a little as she hands over the check, but as the nun says bless you and receives it, the funny Oda refuses to let go. Sam screams at her to let go and after a few tries, she finally does, fussing and walking away. Sam tells her he is proud of her, to which Oda says she does not care and that she hates him. He tells her she is wonderful as she is walking away, and she turns back and spits at him. The nuns who open the check to see the amount fall on top of each other in surprise. Carl sits after hours in his office, smacking away at his keyboard. He has spent so much time searching for a plausible explanation that he has dark circles under his eyes. Sam watches him with a teasing smile on his face, speaking loudly about how he and Willie are going to be killed now. He spins around happily in his chair and uses his new powers to actually move the chair backwards, causing a very disgruntled and sweaty Carl to look behind him. He gets up from his chair, kicks his chair back and tries to leave. However, there is a beep on his computer. He comes back to see what the noise is about, and sees the word murder written on his computer. He screams at the air, asking who is doing that, and the computer repetitively says Sam. Carl freaks out at the name and throws his computer to the ground, making it break. He knocks on Molly's door and invites himself in, notably losing his mind. Molly, who is worried about his state, asks him if he is okay. Carl asks her what the psychic lady told her about Sam being here. Molly lightly pushes him away, saying it doesn't matter. She asks him if this is about that woman being at the bank today. At this new information, Carl stares wide-eyed at Molly. He then asks for some medicine to help with how he is feeling. She tells him to sit down while she fetches some medicine. While Molly is not there, Sam pushes Carl again and again, making Carl walk and stumble all over Molly's apartment. In his state, Carl turns on the burner in order to light the entire apartment on fire. But Sam punches him in the face and turns the stove off in front of Carl's eyes. Seeing this, Carl grabs a big knife and speaks to himself, saying he will cut up Molly's throat. He is indirectly threatening Sam using Molly's life. He tells an invisible Sam to get him the money till tomorrow or he will kill Molly. Molly comes back, asking who Carl is talking to, but he holds her shoulders, telling her he will come back tomorrow 11 p.m. He frantically leaves, leaving Molly scared and confused. Sam senses the danger and runs to warn Otami that they are coming for the check. At that moment, someone parks outside and breaks Otami's back door. Her and her assistants run across the apartment building and let themselves into an old woman's place. Willie breaks down their door and he and Carl look through her house, but they don't find her there. Meanwhile, Sam throws all types of furniture around, scaring Willie into locking himself in the bathroom. To spook him out more, Sam turns the tap on inside the bathroom and writes "boo" on the mirror, making Willie shoot the mirror and run out of there, scared out of his wits. Carl runs after him as Sam pushes Willie onto the streets, making him bump into objects and bleed. Willie runs for his life, screaming loud, and gets into a car accident, getting squished between a car and a truck. To Sam's surprise, Willie's spirit rises from his body and he watches himself bleed. Suddenly, there are dark shadowy figures that emerge from the ground and start choking Willie's scared spirit, dragging him away as Sam watches. In a taxi, Otami and Sam rush to Molly. She doesn't let Otami in and says she will call the police, to which Otami tells her she should. She further explains to Molly that Sam was killed and Carl was laundering money, that Carl is a dangerous man who tried to kill Otami and will try to kill her too. Molly bangs on the door with tension, asking Oda why she is doing this. Sam tells Oda to tell Molly that she is wearing the shirt Sam once spilled margarita on and the earrings he gave her for Christmas, then tells her to give Molly a penny from beneath the door. When the penny comes through, Sam holds it up for Molly to see and Otami tells her it is for luck. Seeing this, Molly lets out a breath and cries while smiling. She opens the door for Oda and smiles wide. Molly has already called the police and now they wait. Molly asks if Sam is here, and he has Oda say he is sitting right beside her. Molly asks if he can feel her, and he tells her with all his heart. He says he wishes he could touch her, and she feels the same way. Otami looks back sadly and finally walks back, telling Sam he can use her body temporarily. He possesses her and looks at the love of his life, Molly, holding her hands in the way he used to while Molly closes her eyes, feeling the touch of her lover. He caresses her cheek and she holds his hand as he does that. She stands up and so does he, and they hug each other, clinging on painfully. It is indeed sad to think that this is the last time two people in love will be with each other. Right when they are hugging, Carl bangs on her door and breaks the lock with a gun. Oda and Molly escape through the balcony as Sam tries stopping him, but he fails. The two women run up a ladder in a building under construction and walk on planks to run away from a bloodthirsty Carl. He grabs a hold of Otami's leg and drags her down, choking her. In an attempt to save Oda, Molly climbs on Carl's back but he pushes her off, making her bump into wood. He grabs Oda again but Sam manages to push him off. Carl grabs Molly and tries to threaten Sam again, but he throws the gun from Carl's hands, who then makes a run for it. While running in the unfinished building, Carl gets impaled by glass, dying. His soul, now detached from his body, sees a sad Sam. He realizes he is dead, and as he does, the dark shadows come to take his soul to hell. Left alone, Sam finds Oda and Molly huddled together. He asks if they are okay, and Molly turns back, telling him he can hear her. Suddenly, a bright light erupts from above Sam's head, and just like that, Molly can see his form, illuminated with the white light. His spirit sits down to kiss her lips one last time, and tells Otami he will miss her. They bid each other farewell as Sam finally tells Molly he loves her, the thing she always wanted to hear. She watches him disappear into the bright light with tears gushing out of her eyes.